Okay. How about
I hear
now?
things now.
Okay, let me hold on. Okay, hold on.
Hold on. I'm holding on.
I know how impatient you guys can get.
Mostly me.
Mostly you, because you hate technology with a heated passion.
I do.
Oh, so do I.
Oh, we got sound now.
Hey! Okay. Well, I guess we'll just kind of redo things. So, we're doing Dungeons and Dragons, and we're talking about 5th edition and how great it is.
We're also talking about like the history of everything of Dungeons and Dragons and how it influenced like everything, as well as and such.
Yes. But I just wanted to get off the bat, like, what we're playing, if we're playing Dungeons and Dragons at the moment, so then we can get into that. So, but yeah, I do like that 5th edition is really probably the most accessible and probably most played edition since the game has been around. And it's also the most visible. Definitely. You can thank like guys like Critical Role and Adventure Zone, those guys for that.
Dimension 20, I think another one is a good one.
Never heard of them. I might have to check them out.
Oh, I find they're hilarious.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start with the history. Obviously, that's easy to look up and such. This game was made by Gary Gygax
and Jeff Perrin.
Yep, and Jeff. In his little, I think it was almost like a breakfast house, almost.
In Wisconsin.
What was it, like Wisconsin?
Yeah, that they have they have Gary Con up in Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
The evolution of the game itself began with the game called Chainmail. It was a 14 supplement describing the implications of the rules to fantasy. And it provided rules for magic, such magic, swords, monsters, and spells, like, like fireball and lightning.
Very, very frightening.
Yeah, it was heavily, yes.
Scaramouche.
Heavily influenced by Lord of the Rings, and such.
Mm-hmm. And of course, like pulp fantasy, like Conan the Barbarian, following Arcane and stuff like that. Like it was kind of like a baby, a mutated baby of Gary Gygax's love of science fiction, fantasy.
Don't forget Jeff.
Like and Jeff, I know. Sorry, Jeff.
Wasn't there a third guy, or didn't he come in later?
I think
there is a third guy, Dave Arnson. He basically helped get the game up and running. Like basically brought it out to the public.
Nice.
Lake Geneva, by the way, Geneva, Wisconsin, was the origin of Dungeons and Dragons. Fun fact about that: Gynax's wife thought that he was having an affair in the basement, but it turns out he was just creating Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh.
She's like, "What the fuck?"
Be like, sorry, baby. Sorry, baby. I'm not doing any of that. I don't know why he sounds like that. But no, but yeah, Dungeons and Dragons evolved from that, and then it had multiple editions. It had the white box edition, which is edition 1, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the really old art.
Yeah, some of the old art for Dungeons and Dragons, it's pretty trippy, isn't it?
I kind of want to have like I know there's a book called The Art of Arcana, which is basically the Dungeons and Dragons like books and all, like the art and all that. I kind of wish they we kind of have that implemented in the newer books, and kind of like how old style Renaissance paintings or medieval art and stuff like that, and stained glass windows kind of art, like that'd be kind of cool.
That would be pretty sweet, honestly. I'm sorry. But no, I think after that it came second edition, and that's when the game really took off. It took off really, really big. Like my parents were playing fucking Dungeons and Dragons. Like literally, my mom, my dad, and my uncle and Ricky, they were playing Dungeons and Dragons. My mom played an elf.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Imagine you thinking I'm reading some of the comments. Imagine imagine you thinking your husband was cheating on you, only found out he's a fucking nerd.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah, but like, and also back then, Dungeons & Dragons was actually, so today, D&D is actually easier to play. Back in the day, it was like Dark Souls. Like,
Oh yeah.
it was not easy at all.
It was not easy to get into. It was not easy to like
Play
either. Like holy shit, this was
Sacco.
like shudder.
Echo. PTSD for some people. Others will get a boner from it. Looking at you, Eric. If you say Thaco. But
By the way, Thaco stands for. Hold on. Thaco stands for total 2 hit armor class 0, which is basically hypothetical opponent armor class of 0, stuff like that. It's just math.
It's a huge amount of math. But yeah, it got really big back in the day, and then there was, I guess we gotta have to talk about it, the whole, the satanic...
I know you didn't really want to talk about this, but we're talking about the satanic panic and shit like that.
But that's the thing, it wasn't just Dungeons and Dragons, it was a whole lot of media that happened. It was during the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah, and like, okay, to be somewhat fair to the parents back then, like you were talking about how the artwork was very distinctive in the earlier editions and the writing and everything. I'm sure it did look kind of creepy and weird to see this
Very
happening.
sus.
So yeah, but eventually it kind of went out of hand.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just the imagery, it was also just the fact that there was this thing going on in America at the time where there was this huge panic of like, apparently there was this...
Oh.
There was also like panic of like, it was the 80s, so there's like the Red Scare and stuff like that, as well as there was also cult shit going on too, as well as cults, suicide cults, and all that has been going on. That kind of fueled that kind of panic, such. So there was a lot of crazy shit back then.
Yeah. Well, you could probably add to the counter.
Yeah. I mean, it's still at 1, but he didn't say it though.
Oh, okay.
He has to say it. That's the rules.
I bet he will when he comes back.
Anyway, hey, fun fact: Gary Gygax was before he started designing the game. He was also a shoe cobbler too.
What? That's cool.
Yeah.
I bet that was an interesting job.
Economics. Trickle down economics. That's not ergonomics. Yeah. That's not how it works.
Yeah. But that's the thing, or as I was saying, like most of that stuff that they were fear-mongering about, it didn't actually happen. It was mostly a way for certain religious/political groups in the American mindset to assert a little bit of cultural control over people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to mention names, but if you look it up, you'll probably know who I'm talking about. Anyway,
yeah.
There was this big panic, and it pretty much almost shut the game down.
Yeah,
like they had to. What's up?
I said yeah.
Yeah, they almost shut the game down,
Yes,
and they had to rename a bunch of stuff that I know for a fact. Like any demons or devils, they had to be renamed. And their names were changed, and they were stayed that way for nearly 20 years. You couldn't call an obvious demon a demon. It had its own fantasy bullshit name.
Tiefling. No,
Tieflings
I know they came out later.
Yeah, those were a little later. If I can whip out my Planescape book, which I'll have to go through my closet, that'll be a little bit. But yeah, they had a name for it for them, and for the longest time, they made sure to not have any religious symbolism in any of those games.
Which is weird because there's classes that revolve around religion.
Yeah.
Well, they had to make up the religion.
Yeah. I just want to point out, D&D is one of the most Christian games you can play. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because you literally play as a man of God. You play as a cleric.
Yeah, or a paladin.
Or a paladin. And
or a warlock
you don't...
if you feel like it.
Well, yeah, but that's for a different religion.
Still technically religious, though.
Still technically religious. You can't prove me wrong. You can't prove me I'm wrong, but you can't prove me I'm right.
He's out of line, but he's right. So, no, it's like, well, it's also the fact that back in the old days, they didn't have rules for, like, classes like today, like warlocks or anything like that. Back then, demons were primarily, or were literally just enemies to fight and kill. They weren't there to barter or to bargain with. They were just there to fight. You were just there to fight them. That's how they were stabbed. That's...
Sorry, I'm reading the comments, but anyway, continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much that's the name for them. But yeah, it's like, and then there was this, they restructured a little bit. It became TSR, which is the corporation that owned D&D. And for a while, they did a pretty good job until the 90s, where, yeah.
I was about to say, they kicked Gynax out.
Yeah, they kicked him out.
Like Steve Jobs with Apple.
They cut him out of their structure. And that's where, like, that company went pretty much completely to the shit.
Yeah, they nearly went bankrupt.
Yeah, they did. And it wasn't just like, oh, sorry.
I'll say they did. It almost did. I'm looking through the history right now.
The Wikipedia.
No, it's not Wikipedia. It's actually like the actual website.
Oh, gotcha. Well, also, it didn't help that, I don't know if it's on that website, but they also tried to brand out from just D&D. The biggest game that was a huge failure, it was called Indiana Jones, the RPG. That nearly killed them. It was so bad. And they did produce a lot of it.
They just tried that method too early. That'd be popular now. Oh, probably already is one out there.
I mean,
technically there is.
I mean, there's. It's not. I don't think it is Indiana Jones, but it's the style of it.
It's called Hollow Earth Expedition.
Yep,
it's pretty much it's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, they just can't say it because
reasons.
Copyright.
The lawyers. We don't want them. They're worse than demons and devils. At least demons and devils, they have a soul. They don't.
You're human. Apparently, I'm a lawyer.
I'm a lawyer.
Oh man, lawyer needs to be a class and a race now.
There is. It's
probably
called
is. Hey, you shut up. You hush your mouth. Anyway.
But he's right.
No, you're not. Anyway. Agree to disagree.
Well,
no, but the one.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. So, and then after that debacle, Wizards of the Coast pretty much bought out TSR. And Wizards of the Coast, if you don't know, before they were the owners of Dungeons & Dragons, they had one IP, and it was a huge IP. It still is nowadays. It's Magic the fucking Gathering.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then they bought them out, and then
Since
rest is history, really.
yeah, since
They
19
merged.
since 1996, they bought them out basically. They also, how lawyers and vampires similar? Well, they're both they both suck.
They suck. They're both blood-sucking parasites. That's all you need to say.
A mosquito.
Mansquito.
But yeah, like
Anyway.
so yeah, like they're also like TSR was also kind of during the 90s, but also felt pressured about the innovation of the rise of games, such as, well, Vampires the Masquerade was coming out at that time too, so they had to like really innovate themselves and all that, but it kind of fell out flat. That's when kind of they nearly went bankrupt, and that's when Wizard of the Coast came and bought them out in '96, and since then they've been, the owners of them, but still, like, PSR still get the money, Dynex still get the money. Well, he did at the time, but I think it's still his sons now. Well, one of them.
One of his sons, the good son.
The good son. We won't talk about the other son.
Yeah, because he's a piece of shit. And that's all we're gonna say.
That's all we're gonna
Winter,
say.
Winter, if you want to find out about the Gygax siblings.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing to talk about there. Yeah, just one's a big piece of shit. The other's a cool dude. I follow the good brother on Twitter, so he's a cool guy.
Let's
right.
put it short. He said some very, very not so good things.
He's a fucking racist piece of shit, and he's also homophobic and transphobic. That's all you need to say.
The infamous second son, yes.
Yes. The other one, the other one.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, you can look up the Wizards of the Coast, like their whole entire history on it.
Okay, so we got the history, and we got the Satanic Panic, which, by the way, I still find funny that games like that, or games like D&D, were out, and people were outraged. No one said a peep about Call of Cthulhu, by the way. Not one parent. Not one.
They probably didn't understand it.
Apparently not.
They're just like, what is it? This is just weird stuff and creatures and
weird tentacle shit.
yeah.
Hey.
Oh, is this who's on?
Cheapo.
Oh, hey,
Hey
Jasper.
I like to mention that there's this thing called Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, which the acronym is AD&D.
Mm-hmm.
So AD&D gaming.
That's pretty much that's yeah. Yeah, that's second edition pretty much.
I know. I just find it hilarious. It's like, well, you got that right.
Yeah, but yeah, I still get a chuckle at that Call of Cthulhu is going on, and not a peep from any groups at all. And I'm not kidding you. Like, I
was supposed to say shh.
Supposed to be silent.
No, I was supposed to say shh. Don't give them ideas.
No, whatever. They'll be fine. So, but it's funny because Call of Cthulhu, like back in the day, they actually had like full-on rituals that you can do in-game for like summoning monsters and stuff. And I just find that funny that they made a big hoo-ha about D&D, but they just ignored that like completely. All right, well, I guess we can now talk about the game itself.
Yeah. I have a couple of history facts real quick.
Oh yeah, sure, go ahead.
Mail order Shogath, yes.
So I just read that it's in 2017. Apparently, it had the highest number of players in its history. 12 to 15 million people in North America alone, were playing this game in 2017.
Yes.
12 million people. Yeah, that's amazing. Also, I've heard that Dame Judi Dench DMs for her grandchildren, which
Are you
is
serious?
kind of awesome.
Yeah.
That is adorable.
Yeah, I want to be DMing and playing at her age. That would be amazing.
Don't worry, he'll get there.
We'll get there someday.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, okay, so
Clothing's a thing.
here we go. Yeah. Favorite classes and why? Go.
Ooh.
And then we'll go break down like we'll talk about races, and then we'll talk about favorite settings, stuff like that, mechanics, all that crap. So the first thing, favorite class, like, what's your favorite one?
I could go if you want to, or if you need time to think, or you.
I got a few. Yeah, I guess my favorite class would be either wizard or rogue.
Good choices.
Yes. Why?
Why? I just
Yeah.
like how the mechanics work in wizards and the rogues. They kind of like, I kind of jive with them and kind of flow with them, stuff like that. They kind of like they really like I like the rhythm of it. Sometimes I like to do a little different. One time I played as a bard and I thought that was fun and all that. I had to rework some stuff with the bard though, because I was trying to help like boosting stuff, but then I'm like, oh god, I need something for myself and such. But yeah, like I don't want. I just like wizards and rogues and all that. I just
Kind of like playing like the stealthy character.
Yeah, but I don't even sometimes I don't even play the stealthy character. I just kind of I just use the. I'm pretty like the current character I'm playing as right now. He's stealthy, but he's still pretty loud and proud about it.
There you go. What about you, Winter? Or are you still kind of deciding?
Oh no, I got ones.
Go ahead.
My absolute favorite will always be the bard. Just because there's so many different opportunities and there's variety of stuff that you can choose from with them. Like you can be a support, or you can be a melee, or you can be a healer bard. You can multi-class with them. I know that like it might not be as mechanically good to multi-class with bard with certain classes, but if you choose the right ones and you know how to optimize it properly, then it could work really well. Plus, they're just roleplay wise, they're really fun. You can kind of like, you can be neutral and do whatever you want, or you can be good or bad.
Be Dandelion from The Witcher.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel similarly about Warlock. I know they get kind of gypped out of spell slots, but you can really have a lot of room to make an interesting character on the roleplay side with Warlocks, I feel like.
Because of the patron.
Yeah, all those different elements of and it's like a dark religion kind of thing. Or you could play a good Warlock. That would be difficult, but probably fun.
Well, that's the awesome thing about Warlock nowadays. Like now there's good patrons now. Good and neutral patrons. When the game first started, there was only like one neutral patron and the rest were like evil.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I totally see for both of those choices. Bard's just hilarious because I mean, when you think of an adventure party, you think of guy with big sword, dude who does magic, and then there's this guy with a fucking guitar. This asshole.
I don't know what you're talking about.
He's got the pick of destiny.
That's kind of the character I was.
You were just Jack Black.
I was basically Jack Black.
He was Gables.
Gables. You say Gables.
Or Jable. Sorry. I'm not a true Tenacious D fan. I gotta go, guys. I'm sorry.
Go to your corner.
Okay. All right. So I guess it's my turn then. My favorite classes, I have a few. I like all the classes, especially in 5th edition. They're all pretty decent, except for Ranger. Ranger's not really good, unfortunately. They kind of screwed that one up. But besides that, classes I like to play the most, I love playing Barbarian. It's one of my favorite classes.
Mhm.
And then I love playing just because the rage mechanic, and also there's just so many styles. Like you could do the animal totem barbarian, or uh, there's the storm caller. I think that's what it's called. There's a bunch of other ones, pretty much. I also really like playing paladin. They're immensely great in this edition. They used not to be. In 3.5, they sucked.
See, I had trouble playing paladins, but I guess it's all a preference.
It's not. I don't find it hard for myself to play a paladin. The roleplay side, anyway, it's mostly like picking which oath to pick is the hardest one.
Yeah, well,
The-
maybe that's where the difficulty comes in, because if you pick the wrong oath and then you go in a different direction, that can be kind of iffy.
it sucks because you
Yeah.
can't change it. You can't. It's unless your DM is really nice about it and
Yeah.
lets you do a full character rework, which most DMs they'll let you.
I had to do that with a paladin once.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, it was fun though.
I think let me like rephrase of wizards and rogues for me. Basically, the reason why I like wizards because I like the magic, mystical part of it and all that. And I think the closest thing I kind of like with the wizards, it's just like I don't know, I just like like using spells and stuff like that. But like I also kind of like like to blend it up with like something magical with like rogues and stuff like that. But hell, like one time like with the spells, like play the sorcerer, and I was just basically like I was a dragon bro and shit like that, and just start shooting fireballs and stuff like that. But like I I just really like feeling having the power and stuff like that when it comes to like the magic side and all that. And it just for role playing purposes, it kind of affects some of the characters I have when it comes to like using magic and stuff like that. Just like the power of like spells and shit like that.
Yeah, spells are really fun. Casters are awesome.
Yeah, I would agree. Casters, well, that's the thing. So, casters have always been really good in any edition, but this edition they're pretty good. Previous editions, though, like second edition, if if you got caught with your pants down, you're probably gonna die in that combat. Pretty sure.
Yeah,
So
because
you had to play a smart wizard.
yeah, because there's some spells that kind of like you actually have to take a full either 2 turns to do because you have to concentrate on them and it can leave you wide open back then. So that kind of like why not a lot of people play casters as much because well you're basically wide open with some spells and all that, and some spells aren't really that powerful back then until they've been reworked and 3.5.
Classes have been reworked. Well, can I add something? Kaboom, Mr. Kaboom.
Yeah.
Arcane casters had some problems. The divine casters, on the other hand, were amazing, and they've always been, because they could actually wear armor and use weapons. Wizards could not.
Yeah, they were squishy.
Very squishy. I mean, they had like maybe like a D6 of HP.
Yeah.
But yeah, like paladins, I like to play. Another one that I've played a lot is monk, or I think they're probably going to change the name of that class to something else someday. I like playing the martial artist. That's one of my favorite classes to play. Like absolute favorite class.
That's cool. What did they say they were going to change the name?
Nah, I didn't see anything that they were officially going to do it, but there has been some kind of talk in the community about the certain implications about the monk and such, because it directly ties to real world philosophy and culture, and so yeah. So they might get reworked. Honestly, I just used to just call them martial artists anyway, because an actual medieval monk is nothing like a D&D monk at all. Yep. You don't want to see Friar Tuck do a roundhouse kick. You would never see that.
I don't know. I don't think you've heard the expanded editions of Robin Hood.
Ye old ass
the director's cut.
Yeah. But,
I kick ass for the Lord.
I kick your ass for the Lord. No, but like martial arts are fun to play because I love the key manipulation aspect. Like I'm a huge anime fan, especially martial arts anime. So it lets me live out my Kenshiro, Fist of the North Star, like wishes and such, playing that class. So plus nowadays you can turn it into a ninja, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. Favorite species to play as or race, depending on how you say it.
I forgot to put the music back on. I'm sorry.
Whoops. Whoopsie.
I
guess I'll start.
I was like, why is it so quiet here? Oh, right, there's no music.
Good job.
You're welcome.
Yes. But no, my favorite race to play, I have two. At least for 5th edition. For 5th edition, I like either playing as I like playing as a Dragonborn. They're pretty cool. I also like playing Dwarf because I'm just playing myself. Played plenty of Dwarves in my day, in my time. Plus, I just like the stats that they get. And they make great fighters and they make great clerics.
Jail.
Oh, guess I go to jail.
No, the chat has spoken. Jail.
Are we all going to jail?
I guess. I'm not going to jail.
Going to nerd jail.
I ain't going to jail.
I've been there already.
Hello.
Oh, am I back?
No. Someone says "and back." I'm reading the chat.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I got put another counter on there.
You know, at this rate, I might as well just put 3 more because he kept saying, "Oh, jail for no music." Sorry. Yeah, okay.
Oh.
3. Now the counter is a 3.
There you go.
Take a shot, and I mean, like it could be anything: alcoholic, water, pop, whatever.
I might have to get that in a little bit, but hold that thought.
Oh God!
But yeah,
can you imagine we did a drunk podcast?
Oh Jesus! Be a sloppy mess. But no. But yeah, those are my 2 favorite races to play. What about you, Winter?
Well, obviously, I'm going to say tiefling.
Of course.
Yeah, because I'm so glad that they added the variants recently. You could be different types from different levels, and that kind of gives you room to work with the color variations and the horn styles. They also make really fun faces for the group, and for people that don't know what that means, a face means that it's usually the character that has the charisma and is doing a lot of the talking or the diplomacy stuff, getting a lot of the attention, I guess.
The Han Solo of the group.
Yeah, kind of. And that's really interesting for tieflings because it could go either way. They could be a face and be really charismatic and everybody loves them, or go in the direction of oh no, everybody hates them because they're the demonic bloodline kind of thing.
There's no in between them. I would agree. Tiefling is a pretty good race. Is there any other ones?
I mean, all of them are pretty cool. Haven't had a chance to play the lion people yet. That'd be neat.
Oh, you mean Leonin?
Yeah.
My fiance is actually playing a Leonin in our Magic the Gathering game, and yeah, she loves it.
Nice.
She gets to be a big kitty cat, so she's having a blast there. What about you, Sheba? Favorite race to play?
I like. I sound boring, but I like playing half elf. I do like playing Dragonborn and Tieflings too. I hope to one day to play as a Goblin or a Kobold sometime. There's actually, there's actually like one character I had in mind where I kind of want to hit Bullywonk. Yeah, thank you. Where I'm either a Bugbear or a Mimic. Like I had
that would be funny.
I had or Turtle, but yeah, had an idea for like a mimic character where basically I'm a treasure chest but with legs, and it still attacks, but he pulls out like weapons from its mouth and stuff like that, and he's also the walking inventory too.
He's the party loot.
Yeah, so basically it's like man, we can't carry all this stuff. The mimic goes, you can eat it.
Why do I get this feeling he sounds like Belial from Basket Case? He gets angry.
What's in the basket?
You found out. Oh, you found out. By the way, Winter, check that movie out. Basket Case. It's quite of a trip of a horror movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, is there any other?
No. Like they basically I mostly been playing tieflings and half elves, and I just kind of want to switch it up a bit sometime. And I kind of want to be like I said, want to be a goblin, kobold, or want to try a mimic character.
That'd be cool. It's always good to switch things up.
I've heard someone who made a concept of where they want to be a gelatinous cube.
Oh, Jesus.
A gelatinous cube that gains sentience, that has well, I know they're already sentient, but still but even more so, where they could actually think. And
somebody in chat said a suggestion.
Yeah. Yes.
Human fighter champion. Yeah.
Yeah. I also want I don't want to try a bugbear though too. I just kind of I think the bugbear are like the Uruk-hai of the goblinoids.
You just want to be Lurtz from the first Lord of the Rings movie.
Not really, but since you mention him, maybe, but not really. I just kind of want to be an Uruk-hai kind of character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're gonna play Lord of the Rings, you have to at least play somebody's gotta fucking play a fucking Hobbit.
Oh, for sure.
You mean a halfling?
Sorry, halfling. This is the same fucking thing. Don't at me. Don't at me. Motherfucking Gary Gygax and his cohorts knew exactly what they were doing. It's a fucking Hobbit.
Yeah, but
didn't they use the term?
Yes,
got
they
in trouble.
did.
They got in trouble for that.
Oh, they got in big trouble.
It is. So they had changed to the halfling, which is basically it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll talk about the cultural influences later about the influences of D&D and all that. We'll get to that later. Mm-hmm. I want to get to that part of it because I have a thesis.
Got it. We'll end right here. No, just kidding.
Like usual.
I'm kidding. But no, it's and I think already we can just kind of skip the settings thing. I mean, we kind of talked about that a little bit, so I guess we can just go straight to the cultural impact, unless anybody else has anything to say about classes, races, anything like that.
They're all amazing.
Yes, they are. You can be that's the beauty of D&D. You can be your own special snowflake, and it most likely will work.
Just remember to read through everything about that
Yes.
about the race and the class too, because sometimes some of them don't really mix well. They can.
They are very interesting though.
Yes. Hey, for a time, like dwarves didn't know how to use magic.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And back then, dwarves also had this thing called dragon sickness. That which is from the Hobbit, though, too. That's also a thing where they have they find like a large sum of gold, they have to make like a wisdom save or fortitude save to basically don't go like, it's mine, it's mine. I will not part a single coin.
Not one. Nah, but it's like, yeah.
Hey, we already talked about the settings as it is. Like basically,
yeah, that's what I meant.
Like,
Yeah.
like we're briefly covered up on that since we kind of lost sound because of that too. So I guess like
yeah.
So I know that I'm gonna get a groan out of it, but I do like the Forgotten Realms. But
Okay.
I do like the Forgotten Realms. Yes, I do believe that they milk it even more. It's kind of hard to determine like how big is the actual realms and all that stuff, because they don't really have a map of the thing. Dungeons and Dragons doesn't really have a map of its world as much, right?
I think so. I'm pretty sure that Forgotten Realms does indeed have a map, but I'm too lazy to actually, go look for it. So that might be a yeah. Well, I guess since you're looking for it, my favorite setting for D&D, definitely Eberron. I love the fact they have robots, dinosaurs, steampunk, and generally it just feels very pulpy and very fun. Like, I really like that. Forgotten Realms is high fantasy. Eberron is pulp fantasy.
Oh, there's a map.
What about you, Winter?
I don't know. I'm pretty good with all of the settings.
The official settings.
Yeah, even homebrew settings, like it's neat to like try out different things like the high fantasy or the steampunk or like science fiction. I haven't really done a lot on the science fiction side. I would love to do more games where it's like taking place in space and uses like some tech and stuff, but also with magic. That'd be cool.
There is actually a setting for that. It's called Spelljammers. It's fucking rad.
Yeah,
there's a couple of them, and I always forget their names when people tell me.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. But yeah. All right, so I guess we'll get to the cultural influences. Okay, so D&D was influenced by a lot of, and by influence I mean most likely just wholesale just stole from other things.
Not really stole, more like influenced.
But yeah, obviously the biggest influence is obvious. It's Lord of the Rings. Like Tolkien is a big influence.
The Tolkien's work and all that. Like basically
the Tolkien verse.
A Tolkien fantasy something saga.
Yeah. Well, like Middle Earth was like one of the biggest influences there. I will definitely agree because, halflings, hobbits, orcs, goblins, all this stuff.
Orcs used to be
another one.
I'll say orcs used to be a lot different back then. They were more big faces. You can look up what the orcs used to look like. I'm kind of glad they changed it up.
They look like the pigmen from Legend of Zelda, and I think Legend of Zelda took from Dungeons and Dragons and Lord of the Rings. So there you go. For their moblin, that's what they're called, moblin.
Yeah.
Another influence definitely they took is there were used to be, and this is because of the alignment system. Which, Winter, I know how much you love talking about the alignment.
Yes.
There were these series of yes, get the PowerPoint ready. It's at the code. No, there used to be these books called they were called like the Eric Saga or something like that. Hold on a second. I will look it up quick. But yeah, there were these kind of books that dealt with There we go. There were these books written by Michael Moorcock called Elric of Malenborn. That's how you say it. And in those books, there was order and chaos. They were actual forces at work. So they got that system of order, chaos, neutral, good from those books. Or they were influenced by them, I should say.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Definitely also, they took inspiration for the many multiversal planar travel as well, because Ulrich also travels the multiverse in those books, and he sees some weird shit.
Also, John Carter of Mars was also one of the biggest influences.
Definitely.
I haven't read that one.
I read it when I was like 14. That was a long time ago.
They're not really as like they're not like as. You still read them, but they're not like as like can't get them like
popular.
Right away.
They're not part of the cultural digest right now.
Though the John Carter that scene or Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, cool.
But another series, and this is one that I love even more than that one, is it's Conan the Barbarian. I love fucking Conan the Barbarian, and it was a clear influence for Dungeons and Dragons because if you read any of those books or watched the movies, Conan goes into dungeons. Lots of dungeons, in fact. What does he do there? Kill shit and get treasure, and that is what you do in Dungeons and Dragons. Kill shit and get treasure.
Let's see.
Yeah. So funny about that, the Cthulhu mythos. They actually they had like a deities and demigods book or whatever back in the day. They actually didn't get permission from Chaosium. Those are the people who do Call of Cthulhu to use the Cthulhu mythos in the D&D game at the time. So they had like an arrangement. So there's actually 2 editions of the Deities and Demigods book for 2nd edition. The one with the Chaosium's agreement. They have like their acknowledged like they own the rights to this, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That book is extremely rare and extremely expensive, and my parents had it. I don't know where it's at though.
Oh,
they
bummer.
lost it. Yeah, I have no idea where it went.
That sucks.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's like a grand, pretty much.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, but there's definitely influences and that you can see in Dungeons and Dragons, and then you can see Dungeons and Dragons has influenced other things itself. Well, I guess the biggest thing right now for Dungeons and Dragons besides Critical Role, obviously, is Stranger Things. Like that's like one of the biggest.
It was kind of like the the plot point of the series was Dungeons and Dragons because they used D&D rules for the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
Demogorgon does not look like the Demogorgon from Stranger Things. It was a two-headed monster, but then again, it was kind of like the kids put two and two together, like what kind of monster they think it is, just because it's part of their fantasy, because plot. It was similar to how they were playing it, and yeah, but still. It was still kind of cool what they did with how they do Stranger Things too. They still do it though too, because like they had figured out like spoilers. They figured out like Big Bad and stuff like that. Those like influenced it, even though the monsters don't really look like the monsters in Dungeons and Dragons. It's still kind of cool like how like show's version of it, like because it's like there's a teenager's fantasy of how they view monsters too, and also how these creatures I don't know, I guess my train of thought what I was about to say.
Nice.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. But yeah, it's like I think nowadays it just seems like D&D is way more accepted. When I was a kid, the only people who played D&D were, this was the perception, by the way, it's not true anymore. But the only people who played Dungeons and Dragons and shit like that were like the nerds, the outcasts, the weirdos.
Mm-hmm. And no women.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Part of that.
Oof.
Anyway.
That's the big oof.
It was a bad time.
It was a different time.
But it's getting better now. So
It's
definitely.
Yeah. Hell.
Well,
I was supposed to say the good son, the good guy next son wanted more like the game to be acceptable too.
Yeah.
And
nowadays, like, okay.
Go on.
Well, now Wizards of the Coast, they've kind of seen like Dungeons and Dragons is not just for boys, and it's not a boys' club anymore. They've kind of really made it where anyone can play, from girls to people who are not straight, pretty much, and not white. Like anyone can play fucking Dungeons and Dragons, and that's a good thing, because that means more people in the hobby and more ideas to be exchanged.
Yeah, I'm glad it's more acceptable now. I'm glad it's more accessible too. Like
I do too.
Like you can go to your local bookstore, you can go on Amazon, you can go on other places. Hell, Target has a section up for D&D. Not
might not be that
Walmart.
Great, but they do.
Pretty
much.
much.
It's not the books. I mean, they still sell the books online, but they have like they have the kits and all that too. Like,
Yeah.
Else, Walmart has a section in their game section for Dungeons and Dragons. Like,
yeah, that's how big it is now.
They have miniatures. Well, they have pre-painted miniatures. They're not great, but they're still like they're there.
Yeah.
Laughs and Warhammer figures.
Listen, no one wants to take a mortgage, man.
Sorry, what I should have said, laughs and Warhammer figures and then cry silently.
Even in debt, I still serve.
I'm in debt, I still serve. No, but yeah, like, well, that's the thing. Now you have people like famous, like actors and musicians and, athletes, people, people who are part of the public consciousness playing this game now, and not just doing it because it's a cynical PR thing. It's like, no, some of these people generally like to play it.
Yeah, they grew up playing it.
Yeah, like what was that one guy? He played Deathstroke in the Justice League movie, and he was that he was the bully in Spider-Man. I forget what his name is.
Oh, the guy who played Flash.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking
I don't
about,
want to
too.
hurt you. I don't want to hurt you. Or I don't want to fight you. Neither would I.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about too.
Yeah, he's like a huge nerd.
Dude,
Oh yeah, Joe Manganiello.
I think that's his name. I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. There was like somebody post on Twitter, be like, only nerds play on D&D, and it shows he replied to it, and it was him after he did his workout, so he's like fucking shredded. He goes, "I play." Like,
Excuse me.
Marilyn Manson plays D&D. Felicia Day plays D&D. Anderson Cooper plays D&D. Deborah.
Yeah, I was surprised about him.
Deborah
Cool.
Ann Woll, if you are from True Blood and Daredevil. Martin Starr, who Silicon Valley and Freaks and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, John Farva, the guy who started the MCU and the rebooted Star Wars saga.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's how he did. That's how he made up a lot of his scripts. He said he was influenced by what they did in Dungeons and Dragons circle. So there you go. You might someday be future screenwriters.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yeah.
There you go.
We can dream. I want to.
I can dream, Harold.
D.B. Weiss and David Benioff, the guys who were the showrunners for Thrones. Unfortunately, the last few seasons. Mostly the last season, but anyway.
They play with Joe, I think.
They do?
Yeah, I saw a thing where like they, at least at one point, they were all playing a campaign together.
Joe should have beat the shit out of him.
John Bradley, Samuel Tarley plays Drew Barrymore.
Oh.
Wait, Drew Barrymore?
Drew Barrymore, yeah.
Wow.
Drew Barrymore and Tom Green played D&D.
Fucking Tom Green. Stuck me up.
Obviously, Vin Diesel. Yes, thank you, Chad. He has a tattoo of his character's name on his fucking ribs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's true, but it's going around the internet that apparently he was the one who taught Judi Dench how to play while they were doing the Chronicles movie.
I think so.
Yes,
that's kind of interesting.
In Chef Gustave's voice, anyone can book. Patton Oswalt, yes. Steve Colbert, yes. Vin Diesel, yeah, we were talking. Terry Crews, Mike Myers, Robin Williams, Dan Harmon from Rick and Morty. Through the list. I'm looking through a list.
Mm-hmm. Matthew Lillard, he's pretty known too. He's got his own podcast or D&D thing, didn't he?
And a few times appeared on Critical Role after a bit for Sam. Holy shit. Why?
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna butcher this name, but it's Ta-Nehisi Coates?
Oh yeah.
The guy who wrote Black Panther and Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Grudenberg, who was Snap Wexley, Rise of Skywalker. Felicia Day, Matt Lillard, yes. Gerard Way, from the lead co-founder and lead vocalist of My Chemical Romance.
And I'm back.
Gary Holkins, the guy who did Stranger Things.
Of course,
yeah.
He's also the co-founder of Penny Arcade.
There you go.
Dan Hartman. Yeah, because he actually has his own show too. Yeah, about that. Yep. Matt Diaz, who did.
Are you literally actually going through the list?
Yeah, there's a list. There's like 100, but I'm not gonna go through them all.
Oh yeah, that'd be a lot.
Well,
we'll be here all night.
Yeah. Sharon McCrum, who's done ballad novels and her timepiece.
There you go. Yeah. Can I just interject quick? Can I just say a game where Robin Williams DMing would be like the greatest thing ever on the whole face of this fucking rotten world.
I imagine that's like heaven.
Says here he has. He
Also played Warhammer too.
Yes, he does. And of course, he was one of the biggest Zelda fans of all time.
Damn right he was.
Like not like he's just a normal one. No, he was
super into it.
The biggest. Named his daughter after the princess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, he also was a big anime fan too.
Yeah,
he was into Evangelion.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Also gave us the proper pronunciation of the show.
I know. He actually was that during what was that movie that he was in that he showed that. Thank you. He gave the proper pronunciation of it, and I'm just like, holy shit, that's how you actually say it.
Genesis Evangelion.
Yeah. There you go. But yeah, so it's like
Will Wheaton,
like nowadays.
Yes, Tom Marlowe, Vince Vaughn, Tim Duncan, NBA player, Kevin Smith, The Big Show, Dwayne Johnson, Josh Weed. Yeah. We'll skip
The thing is, anyway, so in other words, a lot of people play it nowadays. It's not like. It's not like.
Sorry, sorry. I'm just kind of overwhelmed by the amount of there is, but it's like you get the point. Like this game for the time since when it's actually it's gotten a lot of traction and it's way more acceptable. I know we said that, but it's repetition. It's a lot more. The only second I guess tabletop game franchise that also kind of came that close was the World of Darkness games, mostly Vampires the Masquerade. That was also just as big too.
Oh yeah. Oh, it still is.
It still is. Hell,
right.
Hey, I forgot there was a free-to-play game right now on Steam. It was just basically it's
Blood Hunt.
Yeah, I want to play that.
Go do it.
If we're not gonna get like Bloodlines 2, I might as well just play that game. Get my fix.
There you go. Your fix.
And not only that, the entire game has influenced ways in movies and video games. I'm gonna read you a list of how it influenced video games so far. Venturing parties, fantasy races, classes, open world, critical hits, character designs, play mechanics, taverns, crafts, side quests, and aesthetics. All right, I'm getting like kind of like a
cool.
I'm getting like a high right now, kind of being really excited.
Well, you're really into it.
I noticed. Go for it.
Be excited. I'm gonna get excited in a second for the information I found. So you go for it.
Okay. Weird fact. The guys who John Romero and the other guy, but the guys who developed and created Doom. The influences the entire campaign was actually by a campaign that they actually wrote, they actually made up and all that, and that led to the creation of Doom and stuff like that with the demons and such.
Oh wow!
The Cacodemon was actually based on the creature from Dungeons and Dragons called the Cacodemon, but the design of it was way different. Not really that much different. Just think the head. Think Mike Wazowski. Without the arms and legs, that's how it is. But with the original, that's what the Cacodemon in Doom looks like. And what they look like, basically Mike Wazowski if he was fucking jacked. Pretty much.
Oh my goodness.
I'll send you the picture right now, and I'll maybe post it on there. But yeah, it's
oh, hold on, guys.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and of course, with movies and stuff like that, and jeez, without the game, which is weird because the game inspired from Lord of the Rings, and they had the D&D movie. There was a panic from New Line Cinema that when Lord of the Rings was about to be in development, they were afraid that movies are going to flop because, you know, the not so success of Dungeons and Dragons movie. So that way, so it was a big gamble once the production of Lord of the Rings came by. Once the movies came out, it knocked it out of the park. And they're like, basically, I think one of the producers of New Line Cinema just collapsed in shock.
Well, it was a much bigger production, a bigger budget. The D&D movie, unfortunately, wasn't as good as it could have been.
It could have. Funny because the media that was inspired by another media that could inspired another media, which basically kind of like
So, Winter, what fact you wanted to say?
Oh, apparently there is a graduate student, I can't remember what year it is, a couple years ago, that started to attempt to teach an AI how to DM a Dungeons and Dragons game.
Really?
And they're using it as a way to help build algorithms and teach and basically build AIs.
What you're saying is Skynet was a pissed off DM.
Yeah.
He got sick of the players.
Exactly. They're trying to build Skynet through D&D.
That's how the world ends. Anyway, I think this is a good stopping point. My pizza's almost here, and yeah. So.
Oh, yeah, we've been at it for a little bit.
Yeah. So that was.
We ended on a strong note too. So.
Damn right. There you go.
Basically, like the terminal, like this game has basically, it's a lot of fun and it's continuing growing, and I still hope it still grows and all that. Hell, I'll be still playing it and all that. We'll be talking about more games in the podcast soon too. We're gonna have to decide which one and all that. We'll spin a wheel.
Yeah, we'll spin the wheel, or we'll just talk to each other. Anyway, everyone who's watching the podcast, have a good night. We'll see you all next week.
By the way, music was provided by Arcane Anthems. Thanks again, guys. Bye.
Woo!